English spelling is not easy. In the IELTS listening and reading test, if your spelling is wrong, the answer is not correct. In the writing test, bad spelling can reduce your vocabulary score. Now, obviously, there are a few spelling mistakes here, and in the IELTS test, those kinds of spelling errors can cause you to lose half a band, sometimes even more, especially in listening. So, what's the good news? Well, the good news is spelling is a skill you can improve really quickly if you know the right rules. So in this video, I'm going to show you 10 rules to improve your spelling and get more answers correct in IELTS. But before we get started, if you are preparing for IELTS, make sure you check out our self-study IELTS course in the description below. You can learn everything you need to know to get a band 7 or higher from the comfort of your own home. All right, let's start with rule number 1, which is I before E. Now, this is one of the most common rules in English spelling. However, most people don't know the full rule. They just think it's I before E. However, this rule is much longer than that. So I'm going to show you the full rule right now. So I before E, except after C. Now, a lot of people have heard this second part, but there's actually more to it than that. Or when pronounced as A. But sometimes it's just weird. So this is the full rule. Now let me show you what I mean. So if you have a look on the in the column on the left, we've got some examples which follow I before E. So if you need to have E and I together, most of the time we write I first and then E second. So like you can see here, we've got believe, I-E, achieve, I-E, and peace, I-E. However, the rule says except after C. So if we've got a C, we swap the I and the E. So like you can see here, receive, we've got E-I after the C. Deceive, again, we've got E-I after the C. Ceiling, we've got a C, so we've got E-I. Now the third part of the rule is when a sound is pronounced as A, okay, we don't follow the rule. So you look here, we say with the word neighbor, if you listen to that sound, nay, A, that sounds like an A, so we have E-I, okay? Next one, way. Again, that middle sound sounds like an A, so we don't have I before E, we have E and then I. Now here's one more example, sleigh, okay, that middle sound is an A, so we have E-I, not I before E. Now let's look at the last part of the rule, which is some exceptions. Okay, look at this one here, weird, we have E-I. Science, well, with this one we have I-E. And this one I think is pretty simple because if you actually listen to the pronunciation of the word, it makes sense. We have sigh, that I sound, and then we have unce, science, science. And the last one here, guys, is height. Okay, so we've got H-E-I, not H-I-E. So that was rule number 1. Let's move on to rule number 2, which is the magic E, or also called the silent E or final E rule. This is also another very common rule in English spelling. And here is the explanation, okay? So when a word ends with E and the vowel sound before it is a single letter, the E stays silent. But it makes the vowel sound long. So the vowel sound says its name. Now, I know that's very long and it might be a bit complicated. Let me show you what I mean, okay? So if we look at this first word, tap, tap, okay, you can see here that there's no E. So the vowel sound is a short vowel sound, that at sound, okay? Now with the next one, we've got an E. So we don't say tap, we say tape, tape. So that vowel sound is a long vowel sound. And also, if you remember, in the explanation, it says its name. So that means the letter says its name. And the second letter in this word is A. Okay, A is the name of the word. It says its own name. Tape. T-ape. Okay, tape. Let's look at another one. Pin. Okay, with a short vowel, that short sound, that it sound. However, when we add an E, it becomes a longer sound. Pine. P-ine. Pine. And again, the I is saying its name. P-I. Pine. Pine. Here's another one. Not. So n-o. There's that short vowel sound. However, when we add an E, it makes that vowel sound a long vowel. Note. Note. And again, the O says its own name. N-O-T. Note. One more example. Cut. Cut. So that U sound is a short sound, cut, but when we add the E, it makes it a long sound. Cute. Cute. So the U is saying its name. U, Q, cute. Now, there are always exceptions, so let me show you a few exceptions. Now, if we have a look at this first word, we've got O-M-E, but we don't say comb. No, it's a short U sound. Come. Come. Okay, this is an exception. The next one is give. Give. So again, the vowel sound is not saying its own name. It's a short sound. Okay, give. Give. Next one, have. Have. Again, okay, it's not a long sound. It's a short sound. H-a-v. Have. And last one, love. Love. Okay, this one here is a short U sound. All right, let's move on to rule number 3, which is change Y to I before adding ES or ED. So let's have a look at the explanation for this one. If a word ends in Y after a consonant, change the Y to I before adding ES or ED. But keep the Y before ing when the Y comes after a vowel. Now, I know that's a very long explanation, so let me show you what I mean. Okay, look at the base word, cry. Okay, we've got the Y at the end, and then we've got a consonant before the Y. Okay, so when we add ES, we change that Y to an I. So like you can see with cries, it's I-E-S. And with ED, okay, it's the same. We change that Y to an I. Cried. Here's another one. Try, tries, tried. Okay, we change that Y to an I, and then we add the ES or the ED. Here's one more. Carry, carries, and carried. Okay, we remove that Y. We use an I instead. Okay, so here's another one. Worry. Okay, we say worries and worried. So that was the first part of the rule. Let's look at the second part, which is but keep the Y before ing when the Y comes after a vowel, okay? So look at this word here, play. Okay, the A is a vowel. So because we've got a vowel, we don't change that Y to an I, okay? We simply add S. And for the ED, we simply add ED, okay? We don't change the Y. Look at enjoy. We've got an O before the Y, and that is a vowel. So we say enjoys and enjoyed. We just add the S and the ED, okay? No changing of any letters. Stay. A is obviously a vowel sound, so again, we just add the S and add the ED, okay? Stays and stayed. One more example, obey, okay? E, that A sound, okay, is a vowel sound, so just add an S, just add an ED. All right, let's move on to rule number 4, which is drop the final E before ing, ED, or a bull, A-B-L-E. So let's look at the explanation for this one. If a word ends in a silent E, drop the E or remove the E before you add ing, ed, or a bull, A-B-L-E. Now, please note, you need to keep the E when you're adding ly or ment, M-E-N-T. So I know that's a longish rule. Let's have a look at some examples so you can see how it works. So look at the word use. Okay, we've got an E at the end, and that E is silent. Okay, it doesn't make a sound. We don't have to say it. To add ing, we simply remove the E and then add ing, using. If we want to add ed, okay, remove the E and then add ed, used. If we want to add a bull, again, remove that E sound and just add a bull. Next one, create. Okay, create has a silent E at the end. It's the same thing. We just simply remove the E. Creating, created, or creatable. Next one, move. Okay, again, we got a silent E, so we say moving, moved, movable. Okay, just remove that E. One more example, desire, desiring, desired, and desirable. All right, let's move on to rule number 5, which is double the final consonant, CVC rule. So let's have a look at the explanation for that one. It's if a word has one syllable, ends in a consonant, vowel, consonant pattern, and you add ing, ed, or er, you normally double the final consonant. So look at this first word here, jog. Okay, we've got a consonant, J, we've got a vowel, O, and then we've got another consonant, G. So that is that CVC pattern. Consonant, vowel, consonant. We want to add ing, so we have to double that final consonant. We need 2 Gs. Jogging. We want to add ed. Again, 2 Gs. Jogged. We want to add er. Well, again, 2 Gs. Jogger. Let's look at another one. Hop. Same thing. Consonant, vowel, consonant. So we double the final consonant for ing, ed, and er. Hopping. Hopped. Hopper. Plan. Again, we've got that CVC. We've got LAN. Planning. Double N. Planned. Double N. Planner. Double N as well. Stop. Okay, same thing. TOP. Consonant. Vowel. Consonant. So we have to use 2 P sounds. Stopping. Double P. Stopped. Double P. And stopper. Double P. Now, as usual, there are some exceptions. So let me show you what they are. Let me show you when not to double. So let's pretend you've got the word fix. We don't need to put double X. If the word ends in double X, okay, you don't need to have a double X. Just have one X and add the ing or the ed or the er. So like we can see here, we've got fixing, 1X. Snow, if a word ends in W, no double W, okay, just 1 W. Like you can see here, snowing, 1 W only. Open, okay, for this one, we've got 2 syllables, okay, so we just say opening, opening, okay, we don't say opening with double N. And last one, meet. This one is not a CVC, okay, because we've got a double vowel. We've got 2 E's there. So we wouldn't say meeting with a double T. No, we'll just say meeting with 1 T. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is rule number 6. Words ending in IE change to Y before adding ING. So let's look at the explanation for this one. It's pretty simple. If a word ends in IE, change the IE to Y before adding ING. All right, so let's have a look at some examples. The first one is die. Okay, it ends in IE. We want to add ING, so we simply change that IE to Y. Okay, dying, YING. Next one, lie. Same thing. Okay, we got IE, so we change that to Y, lying. Next one, tie. Same thing. Change it the IE to a Y, tying. And finally, vi. Okay, we've got that IE, so change Y to, change IE to a Y, vying. So that one's a pretty simple rule. Let's move on to the next one, which is add ES for words ending in S, SH, CH, X, or Z. So to make a noun plural, add ES, okay, instead of just S, if the word ends in S, SH, CH, X, or Z. So let's have a look at some examples. Bus, okay, bus ends in S. We want to make it plural, so we simply add ES. Brush ends in SH, so we add ES. Brushes. Match ends in CH, so we simply add ES, okay, matches with that ES. Last one here, box. Okay, we've got an X at the end. We want to make it plural, so we add ES, boxes. Now, please note there is one main exception for this one, and that's with the word quiz. If you have the word quiz and you want to make it plural, you use two Zs, okay, double Z, and then you have ES, quizzes. All right, let's move to rule 8, which is words ending in F or FE change to VES. So the explanation for that one is, for many nouns which end in F or FE, the F changes to V before you add the ES if you want to make the plural. So let's look at some examples. Leaf. Okay, this one clearly ends with an F. If you want to make it plural, you change the F to VES, leaves. Next one, knife, ends in FE. So we change the FE to VES. Next one, wolf, okay, ends in F. We have VES at the end to make the plural, wolves. Next one, life, okay, life ends in FE, so we change that last bit to VES instead of having that FE. Now, here are some exceptions. Remember, there are often exceptions to rules. The first one is roof. With roof, we simply add an S. Next one, belief. Okay, with belief, we simply add an S as well. Beliefs. Chief. Again, we simply add an S. Chiefs. And last example here is cliff. Okay, if we have cliff, we simply add S. Cliffs. All right, rule number 9. The prefix doesn't change the base word. So let me show you what I mean by that. When you add a prefix, so a prefix is something before a word. So for example, un, dis, re, pre, miss. The base word spelling does not change. So let me show you some examples. Look at the prefix. We've got un. The base word is happy. We want to add un to happy. Well, we simply add the un. We don't need to change anything there. Okay, just say unhappy. Next one, dis. Okay, if we've got dis, and for example, we want to use agree as the base word, well, we simply say disagree with a D-I-S. Okay, we don't have a double S. Next one, re. Let's pretend we want to add it to write. Okay, we'd simply add the R-E, rewrite. And next one, miss. If you want to add it to understand, you simply say misunderstand. You don't need double S. Now, sometimes you might have double letters, and that's okay. So for example, look at this word here, necessary. Then look at the prefix, un. Well, the prefix ends in un, and the base word starts with N. So it's okay to have two N's there. Unnecessary, that's fine. Dis ends in S. Satisfied starts in S. Having two S's, that is fine, no problem. Dissatisfied. Miss, spell. Okay, miss ends with S. Spell starts with S. Well, we can say misspell with two S's. That is fine. And finally, over ends in R. React starts with R, but we can say overreact with two R's. That is fine. All right, let's move on to the next rule, which is rule number 10, silent letters in word families. Many English words have silent letters, and these letters often stay the same across related words, even if the pronunciation is different. So let me show you. Look at the word resign. Okay, G is a silent letter, but the related word also has a G, resignation. But when we pronounce resignation, we do pronounce that G sound. So it's silent in resign, but it's not silent in resignation, but it's still there for both words. Next one, muscle. That C is silent. But when we say muscular, okay, it's a related word. We keep that C, but in the related word, we pronounce the C, muscular. Next one, design. Okay, that G is silent in design. When we say designer, we keep that G there as well. However, for this one, for the related word designer, G is also silent as well. And the last one here, column. Okay, N is a silent letter in the word column. But when we pronounce columnist, well, we do pronounce that N sound. It's silent in column, but it is not silent in the related word columnist. So they were 10 spelling tips. If you want to learn 10 words you can use in writing task 2 to improve your band score, check out this video right here. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot from the lesson. Take care and all the best with your studies.